I used to lead a federal crime unit for nearly 2 decades, but I've never felt as confused as when I received an emergency call about a decal on a vehicle. How could a patriotic sticker become the center of a battle in a peaceful neighborhood? Welcome to the Karen Karma channel. Where are you watching this video from? Share in the comments below. It was just dawn, and the early sunlight softly filtered through the lush trees of the small town of Oak Ridge, a place where residents live in harmony, everyone knowing each other's names. Yet not everyone was content with that tranquil rhythm. Here, there was a thorn named Laura, the president of the Homeowners Association, Ho, notorious for her habit of controlling everything, from the color of the curtains to the length of every blade of grass. To her, anything deviating from the aesthetic standards she had set was a threat that must be eliminated. I, a newcomer, just wanted to live a peaceful life after years of fighting. I drove an old pickup truck adorned with a proud to serve U.S. veteran decal, with the American flag billowing behind it. It wasn't merely an image. It was a memory, a badge of pride, and a testament to the years I spent serving this country. That morning, while driving along Oak Ridge's main road, my phone rang. The dispatcher's voice came through clearly. There is an emergency call about a vehicle that is marring the neighborhood's aesthetics. I paused, squinting at the rearview mirror, then laughed. Well, I thought, I once handled federal crimes, and now I'm about to be called in because of a decal. Oak Ridge appeared as peaceful as ever, yet I knew that beneath that calm surface, an unspoken battle was raging between individual freedom and the community's strict rules. Every old vehicle, wooden fence, and house carried its own story. But my truck, with its brilliant patriotic decal, had now become a target in Laura's eyes. When I pulled over by the roadside, the residents' eyes brimmed with curiosity mixed with judgment. I could sense some piercing stares from a few, while others shared secretive smiles as if eagerly awaiting the moment when those rigid rules would shatter. At that moment, the sound of police sirens echoed in the distance, signaling that the matter was no longer just about me. Then a familiar voice of a young colleague came through the phone. Boss, that truck is actually yours. Those words hit me like a light blow, a reminder that whatever happened, it was my duty to face the situation head on. In that moment, I thought to myself, this is the first time I'm being investigated not for a crime, but because of the decal on my truck, a symbol of patriotism and enduring values. I gave a wry smile, stepped out of the truck, and prepared for a conversation I knew wouldn't be easy. As I approached, I saw Laura waiting with her arms folded across her chest, as if trying to assert her authority. Hello, Laura, I said in a formal tone that still carried the warmth of a battle-hardened soldier. Laura replied, her voice a bit trembling yet unmistakably decisive. Hello, I just want to say that your truck is causing disorder in the neighborhood. I can't allow it to ruin the perfect aesthetics we're trying to maintain. I took a deep breath, striving to stay calm in the face of her anger. Ma'am, I understand that you value the uniformity of the neighborhood, but the decal on my truck isn't meant to be provocative. It's simply an expression of pride in my past and the patriotism of someone who once served this country. My voice was steady and resolute, as if each word carried the weight of years of battle and memories that could never fade. Laura stared intently, her eyes as if trying to pierce my soul. Do you think that under the whole rules nothing is allowed to be different? She asked, her tone as stern as if issuing a final verdict. I smiled, thinking, it's laughable that the values I once sacrificed for could be judged through the lens of such petty rules. Ms. Laura, I continued, you never know, this decal might actually inspire many, those tired of needless control and eager to live freely in their own way. In that tense silence, punctuated only by the whistling wind through the trees and the rapid beat of my heart, The atmosphere stretched endlessly, each second heightening both anticipation and irritation. The nearby residents seemed to wait, hoping for a dialogue that might change the destiny of the entire community. Finally, with a tone full of determination, Laura declared, "I will not let this continue. If you do not change your vehicle immediately, I will report it to the whole management for action." Her threat rang out clearly, like an unyielding command. Looking into her determined eyes, I realized that although this situation might seem absurd, it contained deep conflicts between the individual and the collective. "Ma'am," I replied softly but firmly, "do you really think that my truck, carrying a message of patriotism, disrupts order? Sometimes it's the differences that define a community." At that moment, the sound of police sirens reminded us that our conversation was not just between two individuals. It was the voice of an entire community beginning to recognize the value of diversity and personal freedom. I sensed the support and belief of the residents around us, those tired of rigid rules and yearning to live true to themselves. Amid a few timid chuckles and unmistakably anxious glances, I knew this was only the beginning of a larger story. A clash between the old and the new, between imposed rules and the freedom nurtured over time. And though I couldn't predict how this dialogue would end, I was certain that with my pride and patriotism, I would never abandon the values I held dear. Thus, the decal on my pickup truck wasn't merely a symbol. It was a declaration from a man who had faced life's dangers and was now ready to stand up for individual freedom against unchangeable rules. In my mind, the ironic thought echoed. I once handled state-level crimes, but I never imagined I'd have to face a whole lady calling the police over a decal. That very moment opened a dramatic new chapter where every word and every glance carried the message that individual freedom, even in an old truck, has a value that can never fade. Laura wasted no time. Standing amidst a hallway decorated with perfect HOA banners, she quickly dialed the police dispatch in a tense and decisive tone. "There is a vehicle with an offensive decal parked in violation of the rules in my upscale neighborhood. I demand immediate action." Every word she uttered rang out like a warning bell, stirring a wave of anxiety through the quiet neighborhood. Meanwhile, I received a notification from the police station, and, to my surprise, the unit I managed had been dispatched to the scene. Shortly after, my phone rang again, causing me to pull over. The young officer, with a hint of humor in his tone, said, "Boss, she's having you pulled over by your own vehicle." At that moment, a slight smile crept across my face. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony of it all. "Hold your position," I replied, my voice both instructive and confident. "I'll handle this case." Driving straight to the scene, I couldn't help but think, this is nothing more than a warning from the past, when my decal once ignited a full-blown battle in people's hearts. As my truck entered the area, I saw Laura standing right in front of the neighborhood gate, her arms tightly crossed as if ready to arrest a criminal in broad daylight. Her eyes not only exuded determination, but also an unwavering resolve to protect the perfect landscape she cherished. Laura shouted, her voice as sharp as a knife, "Do you think your truck can roam freely in my neighborhood? Here, we have rules, and if you don't comply then—" I interrupted her with a gentle, calm smile. "Rest assured, I understand my duty, but sometimes rules shouldn't be so rigid as to eliminate individual value." Laura paused, her challenging eyes scrutinizing every word I said. A light breeze swept by, carrying the cool chill of the morning as if empathizing with the tension in the air. The young officer standing nearby asked worriedly, "Boss, shouldn't we give her an official warning?" I shook my head, my tone calm yet resolute. "No today. I want to resolve this through dialogue and listening. Keep an eye on every development." I'll approach her. Then I opened the door and stepped out, each step echoing my inner monologue. In all these years, I've seen countless cases and challenges, but nothing compares to facing a whole lady protecting her perfect landscape. As I drew closer, Laura appeared even more stern. She stood upright, her eyes fixed on me as if challenging any interference. "Do you really think your decal will be accepted in my neighborhood?" she demanded, her voice hot and insistent. I stood slowly, meeting her icy gaze, and replied, "Ms. Laura, this decal is more than just an image. It embodies a past, a pride in patriotism. I understand that you want to maintain uniformity, but sometimes individual values also deserve respect." Between us, the atmosphere stilled. Laura shook her head, her voice unyielding. "Rules are rules. If you do not remove it immediately, I will not hesitate to report this matter." At that moment, I felt the full force of individual freedom clashing with the power of invisible rules. The curious glances of nearby residents, their whispers and murmurs, added to the dialogue between two worlds, the world of freedom and the world of rigid order. I looked at Laura, filled with pride and a touch of irony. "You know, this decal is a symbol of pride not only for me, but also for those who have sacrificed for our country. If these rules make you feel this way, perhaps we should reconsider their value." The sound of police sirens echoed as a reminder that in any situation, duty and justice always come first. And then, amid the tension and drama, I knew this was only the beginning of a dialogue where every word and every glance held the potential for change. Stepping out of the truck, the closing sound of the door resonated throughout the quiet neighborhood like a resounding command. I was still in my police chief's uniform, gleaming badge, radio strapped to my belt, and a medal shining on my left chest in the sunlight. It wasn't showboating. It was a reminder to anyone watching that I wasn't just a new resident. I was a man who had once sworn to uphold justice. Each step on the tiled sidewalk resounded with gravity, each one a declaration. Some neighbors quietly drew their curtains, leaving just a sliver open to peek outside, while others stood boldly on their porches, arms crossed or hands on hips, clearly waiting for the show. Laura, however, stood rigidly. Her eyes widened, her mouth agape, as if someone had shattered the treasured antique vase she'd kept hidden for years. Her usually proud posture, shoulders straight, chin held high, now recoiled, trembling with uncertainty, whether from fear or shame. She stammered, trying to control her voice. I, I didn't know that truck was yours. I just thought. It disrupts the overall aesthetic. We have rules." I stopped just a few paces away. My eyes met hers, steady and unjudging, the calm of one who has witnessed far greater matters, now facing the smallest issue with monumental significance. "You know," I said slowly, my tone firm yet measured, "you just called the police to deal with the chief's patrol vehicle." I let those words hang in the air, giving Laura a moment to swallow. "For what reason?" I continued, my gaze never leaving her. "For daring to show patriotism." For a moment, the entire neighborhood froze. A few murmurs arose, a soft cough echoed from afar, and even the lawnmower from the corner house sputtered to a halt. It was as if everyone was waiting for what would come next. I walked over to the truck and gently opened the tailgate. Laura watched, her brows furrowing in suspicion. She could no longer hide her worry. It was plain on her normally composed face. I pulled out a thick file, documents neatly clipped together and marked meticulously. I closed the tailgate, then turned back to face Laura. Holding the file high for all to see, I began to speak, not just to her, but to every ear listening behind drawn curtains and closed doors. I have remained silent all this time, not because I didn't see, but because I was gathering evidence. I flipped open the first pages, reading clearly without hesitation. First, Abuse of power in enforcing HOA rules for personal gain. You demanded that residents remove legally erected fences and threatened them with anonymous letters. Laura blinked repeatedly and stepped back. Second, falsifying the HOA financial report. $5,200 was recorded as spent on summer landscaping, while in reality no contractor was hired. A few murmurs arose from the back. The atmosphere shifted from curiosity to outrage. Third, sending out fake violation warnings to households, mainly to new residents, with the intent of pushing them out to favor acquaintances. Laura let out a light gasp. This time, there was no pretense left. She was truly cornered. "What is this? Where did you get all these from?" she stammered, her lips turning pale. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I looked straight into her eyes. "From the very residents you thought would never dare to speak up. They sent them to me, and I listened." Laura fell silent. Completely. No more excuses, no more pretentious tones. She stood there, mute as a statue, and for the first time since I moved into this neighborhood, I saw Laura who had lost control. Lowering my voice, yet still loud enough for her and everyone to hear, I said, "You are not just causing a fuss over a decal. You are undermining this entire community. And today, you did not summon me. I am the one investigating you." Silence enveloped us once again, but this time it wasn't merely astonishment. It was an awakening. A gentle breeze blew by. The "Proud to Serve" U.S. veteran decal on my truck fluttered slightly, and I stood there, not defending a sticker, but defending the meaning behind it: honesty, honor, and justice. When Laura bowed her head and gradually retreated into the shadow of her flowered wall, I knew the game had turned, and no one, not even she, could fathom where that decisive blow had come from. Laura thought she made the rules, but in reality, she was the one who broke them the most. Less than a week after that fateful day, the state government office intervened. My complaint, along with the complete file I submitted, was no longer a trivial community matter. It became an official investigation. The state-level home management convened an emergency meeting on Wednesday afternoon where, for the first time in years, many residents felt their voices truly matter. I wasn't present at that meeting. I didn't need to be. The evidence spoke for itself. Then, at 5:32 p.m. that day, an email was sent to all residents. Urgent notice. Laura Hilton has been officially dismissed from her position as HOA president, effective immediately. I heard a small cheer at the end of the alley, someone popping open a bottle of champagne in their backyard. And me, I just sat on my front step, a cup of coffee in hand, gazing at my pickup parked in the yard, with a decal now bearing an extra line, carefully printed in white. "Proud to serve, U.S. veteran." And thank you, Laura, for helping me clear out the hoe. Laura later faced an administrative penalty for filing a false report and abusing emergency services. She had called the police over an offensive image, when in fact, it was the chief's patrol vehicle. The incident was recorded as an intentional act to disrupt public agency operations, non-emergency. The neighbors need not say more. After that, the name Laura ceased to be just a name. It became synonymous with absurd, tyrannical, and downright ridiculous behavior. The once quiet community group on social media exploded with activity. Posts like, "Does anyone remember the day Laura called the police to arrest a decal? Unbelievable, I almost had to remove my wooden fence because she sent a threatening letter." Even when my lawn was exactly 0.5 inch tall, I got a reminder. Now if I let it grow 10 inches, no one can stop me. The media, too, didn't miss the golden opportunity. A local reporter, who usually only covered apple pie festivals and high school concerts, immediately ran a sensational headline. "From hoe to hysterical, the day Karen went too far." The title nearly made me choke on my coffee with laughter. Today's story may make you laugh at its absurdity, but beneath it lies a profound lesson. Sometimes, the power given isn't meant to control others. It's meant to protect justice and mutual respect. Whether it's a small decal or a neighbor's reminder, individual freedom must always be safeguarded against rigid rules and overbearing egos. What about you? Have you ever had to deal with Karens in your neighborhood? Those who think they can control how you live, how you decorate your home, or even your personal pride? Share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoy real, profound, and slightly plot twisting stories like this, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming videos. Because here, we tell real life stories in a way you simply can't look away. See you in the next video.